I thought like because Dunu kept posting about Nezha and Nezha and Nezha, I thought like they were talking about the film, and you know apparently Nezha is a powerful deity in Chinese mythology, and you know like mischievous and courageous in nature. And this box design here is really fiery. I've been listening to this for about a week, and Dunu 2 for 2 or the power of Nezha. I think I'm ready to give my impressions on these Fury character in here. Good day guys, this is Practiphile, and yeah, today we are back again here and reviewing the Dunu 2 for 2. Thank you so much Dunu for sending this in for a review. Really appreciate the sample, and but yeah, all thoughts are my own, guys, so Dunu did not really say anything good about making this review or something. No monetary compensation or whatsoever. This is currently priced around $349, around $350, which falls under my, let's see, $251 to $499 category. So I will be comparing IMs around this price range, sometimes lower, sometimes cheaper, or no, sometimes lower and sometimes more expensive. But yeah, let us just go straight ahead to the specs in here. This is the 242, which means it has 2 dynamic drivers, 4 balanced armatures, and 2 microplanars. So you may have seen my review on the 141, which is probably the only difference is the dynamic driver in there. But not only that, actually the tuning is also a little bit different. They did say that the 2 DDs here, the one is the ultra low frequency dynamic driver, and another one is low frequency dynamic driver. So I'm thinking it's more of like the sub bass and mid bass configuration. It's not like isosurbaric or something of that kind of nature. I don't think that is the case. Fit is actually very similar to the 242. No, sorry, 142. So typical Dunu fit, really good fit. Masha gun. I tried playing it with my drums and, you know, headbanging and other stuff. I didn't notice that it's coming off my ears, or, you know, I didn't notice that I had to change the fit. So yeah, fit is just perfectly. Oh, Masha. Let us just move on to the sound impressions here, okay? So looking at the graphs of the 242, it graphs like that one over there. And as you can see, let me just overlay my neutral target in there. This is, I would say, like a balanced sound, close to neutral, okay? Close to neutral because like it doesn't really have a lot of elevation in the sub bass. It doesn't have a lot of vocal gain, and just, you know, some extension there in the treble, some elevation there in the treble for that added sizzle and sparkle. It does remind me of the Apple Performer 8 tuning. Let me just show you right there. I mean, it's not the comparison part, but you see there that the kind of like the glide is almost similar. So their approach is not like the meta gain. Their approach is like Apple tuning kind of style, like low gain balanced sound. Yeah, that is that tonality of this one here. I do like the tonality because it's very easy to listen to, and I feel like this is more, how to say, like the mids are more forward sounding. Vocals are also more forward sounding. They are very intimate sounding. I really like how the mids are done on these. It's overall really a good listening experience. Although I would have wished it would have probably like a lesser treble energy in there, because without that elevated gain in there, sometimes it shows that treble energy there, it lets itself known. So for the tonality of this one here, I'd probably only give it 2.5. I mean, I like it, but it's probably not, it's not something that I really love. It's very good. Moving on to the bass. Again, I already explained it with the my 142 review, and even if the 142 only has 1 bass, I do feel like I like the bass better on the 142, only because it's tighter and it's more textured. It's more sub bass focused. With the 242, it's more of like, there's more balance on the sub bass and the mid bass. I mean, it's still okay actually. It's not really doing anything about the mids. It's not mudding up the mids. In fact, it is supporting the mids. So vocals really sound natural because of that mid bass in there. I would have wished that they were more tighter or much tighter in attack, but yeah, I think the bass is okay. It's not something that I don't like. Definitely I like the bass. So I'm giving the bass 2.5 on this one here. For the mids are, again, as I've explained, the vocals are really forward sounding, really natural sounding on females and even males. Instruments sound okay. I was playing with my drums, and even if I see an elevated peak in there and like the past 10K, I don't hear it to alter cymbals at all. When listening to music, yes, they are tad, you know, like sparklier and brighter, and I have to lower down the volume. This is just me. But when playing drums, I don't really have any problems. Like the hi-hat sounded like hi-hats, toms, snares, everything just sounded perfect, you know, like they were just normal. So I would say instruments sound natural, and this is really, really good though. I like the intimacy and the openness at the same time, which I'm not sure if you can experience them all together. It's like very open sounding and intimate at the same time. So for the mids, I'm giving it a 3 there. For the treble, again, these are very airy. It has that micro details from the micro planners in there, but I feel like there needs to be a little bit of control because sometimes they can come off like a little bit splashy. I did try using ear tips. So short bore ear tips, no, not short bore, short profile ear tips really work with these in taming those treble energy. Like even looking at other graphs, they seem to have like an elevation there past 10K. So the thing about the short bores is the shorter the ear tips are, the closer they are to my ears, and probably that's how it mitigates the treble. So for the treble in this one here, they do sound detailed, they do sound nuanced, but they're just a little bit too much in listening to music. Like no problems with playing with my drums, but listening to music, I do find myself lowering down the volume a bit. So treble in there, 2.5. And lastly, for the technicalities, again, they're very open sounding. It gives you that experience of openness wherein like it almost feels like open back or something. Like it really does. It really is open sounding, and I like it that way. It does give you that hi-fi experience, you know, like when you first heard of IMs with very good treble extension, it gives you that experience. There's definitely a short-lived wow factor to it, but I do think that they find the perfect balance, you know, like, I mean, it's still a colored sound, yes, because there's some warmth in the bass and a little bit of elevated in the treble. But then again, that openness gives it its character. So for the technicalities in this, I'm giving it 2.5, and that is a total of, how much is it? 13. And so 13 for me is actually A. So yeah, it's rank A. I think it's generally better than other sets, very good for the price, but the tonality might not match your preferences. So what I mean by that is if you prefer a bassy IM, this might not be for you. If you prefer a neutral sounding IM, it could pass as a neutral sounding set, a little bit of coloration in there, but definitely not for bass head. These are like for people who are after a balanced sound or almost close to neutral in presentation. Could also be for people who wants a brighter treble presentation, could also be there. So moving on to the comparisons here, the first one that I can compare it to is, again, the 142. I already explained it before, but let me just explain it to you now if you don't want to watch my 142 review. The 142 has a different tonality in a way that, yes, the 142 is more V-shaped in tonality, or you can see it there. There's just more sub-bass and bass of the 142, and there's more treble elevation. So if you want more fun, maybe you're good with the 142. The 142 also has a better value because it's much cheaper. It's $250. This one is $350, so you know it's really up to you. The best way is actually to audition both and see for yourself what you really like. If you want a mature sound, definitely the 242 is the one to get. Next one here is the Performer 8. So I already talked about the Performer 8 a little bit, and yeah, it follows that kind of like similar pattern. So it does feel like a little bit, it's more exciting than the Performer 8 to say the least. So if I were to choose though between both, that's hard. But the P8 also has some treble peaks in there, but the P8's bass is also a little tighter. So P8 is closer to neutral than the 242. 242 is more of like, it's still neutral, but there's a little bit of coloration in the bass and the treble. But if you feel like the P8 is thin sounding, maybe you're better off with the 242 because the 242 does sound more natural in timbre compared to the P8. It's just that the P8 is just more neutral in approach, and the 242 is more, I'd say like more organic sounding than the P8, if that makes sense. Next one is the 5+2, because why not? Because again, I already talked about the P8 And if I put there 5+2, actually it's not really that different. I mean, there's a little bit of elevation there on the bass because again, almost the same configuration, BAs and plus planar drivers in there. I'd probably prefer the 242 because even until now, the treble on the 5+2 still is a little bit gritty for me. I know they produce a lot of details, but then again, when I started playing drums, I am so picky with my cymbal timbre recently. Both treble are still forward, they have that sizzly, but if I have to choose, I'd probably go for the 242 on this one in here. Next one is the Horizon, the Zigot Horizon, the new one. All right, right there. So the Horizon, as you can see, it's more open sounding in a way that it's more neutral in approach. I think it's closer to the meta gain right now. It also has a more elevated upper treble energy in there, as you can see. So yeah, which would I choose though between these? Like, both actually fall in my A category. If you want a brighter tone and a cleaner mids, like really clean sounding, like almost bright in tonality, I think the Horizon is the one to pick. If you want more forward vocals and more heft in the bass, or like in the mid bass, more organic sounding, I think the 242 is the one to get. But you know, like really it's just the difference in tonality. So yeah, I guess that is it for my comparisons, guys. I do enjoy listening to these. Like, I really like these. And you know, with my ranking, it's always about value. You know, like the cheaper they are, the more I recommend them to people because again, value, cost performance, right? It's not to say that the Dunu 242 is actually bad sounding. I actually enjoy these. Like, I see myself listening to these ones if I want a more, like, if I want to relax and just chill, I'd listen to these. And the 142 is like, if I want to have that fun and energy kind of like vibe, because again, it's much cheaper, and the only difference is actually that dynamic driver, right? So yeah, again, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you think that my video is helpful, consider liking, subscribing really helps the channel a lot. Yeah, that's Dunu 242, Nezha, Firepower, I don't know. Thanks so much for watching. Have a nice day. Bye for now.